Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Miss Dhanusha. I chat all about self-care for the millennial woman who has a 9-to-5 job or is a content creator. So if you're looking for self-care, you come to the right place. Welcome back to my returning subscribers, and if you're new here, I really hope that you will subscribe and join my family. So today I'm chatting all about books that I've read. I'm going to give you a little bit of a review and tell you whether I think you should buy them or whether you should read them or not, or who do I think is the kind of person that should read them. And yeah, I'm gonna name this series Coffee and Books because I love coffee, black coffee, and I love reading. So, well, I've always loved reading, but I think in the last few months I really got into it more because I made time for it and I try to arrange my day so that I make more time for reading. So anyway, without further ado, let's just get into it. So if you want to know what books I'm reviewing and what I have to say about them, then just keep on watching. Okay, I'm going to start with the book that I started with or I've seen already, or I've talked about already, sorry, in my favorites video. But the reason why I want to go through this book again, because I just briefly mentioned it there, it wasn't really a book review. So anyway, this is Yellow and Confused. This is by Ming Cha Lin. She is a Taiwanese South African. She moved here when I think she was 3 years old. And yeah, she grew up in Bloemfontein. She's Taiwanese. And her first book was actually Just Add Rice, which I also have. You'll see it on my bookshelf if you can see it. But okay, let me read you what this book is about. Ming Cha Lin's family immigrated from Tainan in Taiwan to South Africa when she was 3 years old. Here we go. Growing up in the 80s in the largely Afrikaans Bloemfontein with small East Asian community, she was always the outsider. Too yellow for whites, but not Asian enough. When she didn't conform to the rules of her generation, of her first generation Asian elders, Taiwanese or South African, good girl, rebel, creative or disappointment, Ming Cha Lin is known for her Taiwanese home cooking and popular cookbook Just Add Rice. She shares her personal journey and she tries to understand and rise above the hurdles that she's experienced. Yellow and Confused provides a colorful and engaging into an authentic, uniquely South African life. This book is eye-opening. It is something that as a brown person or person of color that you might relate to, but being an immigrant and being a person of color, no matter what skin tone that is, she really goes into depth about how she felt and every single thing that she went through, whether it was a big thing or a small thing. You really get insight into it, and I felt like I related on so many levels because of being a woman of color, but also because I was always a rebel as well. And she talks about how being a rebel and how she got tattoos and her family situation and how Asian communities also emphasize academics and you must like study certain things like engineering and not like what she's a copywriter. She's originally a copywriter. She's also a food blogger. And she worked in an agency and stuff, and she speaks about that. She speaks about her marriage. She speaks about her mental health in this book, speaking about how being bullied growing up has affected her. It's well written. It's written in such a way that anyone can read it, and I like that. I like that it's accessible to somebody whose language is maybe not that great, and I think that's what she aimed to do. Or, you know, someone who's not a first language English speaking person, this book is perfect for them because it's simple, but it really does hit hard. I cried at the end of this book. It is like, I would reread it. It is just beyond me. I never knew that Taiwanese people actually, you know, originally were from China, and I never knew how much of hurt and pain that immigrants felt here in South Africa. You wouldn't assume that, you wouldn't know that. So I love how she told her story. I'm a huge fan of her work. Yeah, if you are a person of color or anyone for that matter and you want to read something that's written by an immigrant in South Africa that is like true in every sense of the word, it is honest, then definitely get this book. Also, look at this cover though. Not to judge a book by its cover, but it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this book. I know like I didn't get into like every chapter and like everything, but I think what the main thing I took away from this book is that if you don't focus on your mental health, and if you don't focus on making yourself happy, and you people please other people, you're going to have troubles, and you're going to have issues with, you know, going on to things that you actually want to do in your life. So that's what I take away from this. And I think that it also made me realize that I need to also pursue my passions, and I need to I don't need to conform to what society wants for me. I can do what I want to do, and also taking care of my mental health at the same time. So yes, who should read this book? Anyone that's a millennial, anyone that's an immigrant, anyone that feels like a lost in society, who doesn't fit in, yeah, anyone that's an immigrant, yeah, definitely. So check this out. Okay, next we have Emotional Detox. This is a book that, you know, it took me the longest time to read. It's called Emotional Detox, 7 Steps to Release Toxicity and Energize Joy. It's by Sherianna Boyle. Okay, so let me just tell you what the background of this book is. Emotional Detox is a courageous story of true healing and unconditional love, whether you are struggling emotionally or not. This book is a must read. Okay, let me just go into what it says. Most of us view a detox as a physical experience, a way to remove all the impurities swallowed, inhaled, injected, absorbed, in some cases abused through daily living. What we don't realize is that our physical bodies aren't the only things that need to be cleansed in order to return to a healthy state. When we're unable to process our emotions and become toxic to ourselves and those around us, it's time for an emotional detox. Author and wellness expert Sherianna Boyle has created the revolutionary cleanse method to guide her readers on the 7 steps to a successful emotional detox. Experiencing reactions to fear, negativity, worry, and anger or doubt can put obstacles on our path to a happy, fulfilled life. An emotional detox is a systematic and mindful way to purge these undigested emotions. Once freed from this burden, we return to our natural, energized state. Emotional detox is for the soul, flushing out negative feelings, clearing a path for new habits and behaviors, and energizing us to embrace love, acceptance, and beauty. Okay, I really love the concept of an emotional detox. I think we all store emotion in our bodies, and if we don't process them, then, you know, it becomes trauma, and we carry that with that, or it's just stored and it's subconsciously there and we need to work through it. So say for example you had divorced parents, or you had a difficult childhood, or you really struggled with your appearance, or you were bullied, all that from like growing up will stay with you until you work through that. So I picked up this book. It was actually on sale. It was at Bargain Books. But I picked it up and I was like, oh, this looks so exciting. I love the cover. I love what it says. I'm so looking forward to like learning something in this, and like doing the cleanse method like she says, and actually putting it to work. But this book is more of a story about her divorce. So while speaking about the affair that her husband had, and how it led her to this healing, and how it like pushed her to cleanse herself, and a whole lot of stuff surrounding the affair, which I felt like was like too much. Like it was fine if she had just started with that, but then it just went on and on and on. And then like at the beginning of every chapter, it has a Bible verse. So if you're not Christian, then I don't know. I'm also like, I don't understand the correlation between it. It's not that she's saying, you know, much. There's, okay, not every single chapter is a Bible verse, but it is Bible verses like throughout the book. I just feel like she went on too much about the trauma, and she spoke about healing, but then like for most of the book it was all about the affair and healing, and like building up the whole book to the cleanse, and then you get to the cleanse and then it's like, yeah, I don't know if that's going to actually work, because it sounds too far-fetched. It doesn't have any like scientific evidence for what she's saying for certain cleanse steps. So there's 7 cleansing steps. And I'm just like, no, it took me forever to read this. And I was wondering, why is it taking me so long? And I went and I checked like reviews after I read it. And I was like, oh, that makes sense now. It took me forever because she was harping on the same situation. She didn't get to the point. And the cleanse method doesn't sound scientific enough for me to actually try it. It doesn't even sound like it actually works. I mean, I don't know. I didn't try it. So if you get this book, then maybe try it and let me know like if it actually works for you. But what I can say about emotions is that you need to work through it with a therapist, with a professional, or even on your own, but like in a systematic way. I don't think doing a 7-step detox can like get rid of those emotions. It might be years or decades or, you know, even longer, like your whole life that you've been withholding such emotions in your body and in your mind, of course. And doing a emotional detox for like 7 steps supposed to get rid of that. Just the whole concept for me, I don't think so. I would rather say instead of investing in this book, maybe, you know, seek a counselor, guidance counselor, or just a normal therapist and do that instead. I really think that this book is not worth it. That's just my honest opinion. Coffee. So the next 2 books are brilliant, and I'm just gonna spoiler alert, but they're so exciting that like I'm just gonna say that they are. So I'm gonna go with Start With Why. So this is Start With Why. This is by the Australian author Simon Sinek. I don't know if you've seen this book, but the cover says how great leaders inspire everyone to take action. It is a global bestseller, so you may have seen it. And then at the back it says, why are some people and organizations more inventive, pioneering, and successful than others? And why are they able to repeat their success again and again? Because in business, it doesn't matter what you do, it matters why you do it. Steve Jobs, the Wright brothers, Martin Luther King have one thing in common. They started with why. This book is for anyone who wants to inspire others or be inspired. This book is a little gem. It's small, it's short, but what an amazing read. It goes into detail about why organizations work the way they do, why companies have succeeded, such as Apple, Steve Jobs himself, and movements. So it breaks down exactly how your why should work and how it works. And it even goes into like organizations saying that how companies kind of manipulate people to stay and what kind of manipulations they use, even in marketing. And yeah, just like a whole lot of stuff that is very much business inclined. So if you're somebody who's in marketing or in business, or you want to get into it, or you just somebody who wants to figure out your why, this is a great book to figure that out, because it makes you understand how the world works. So you might not see it in your everyday life until you read this book. You're like, oh, so that's why I bought that thing that I bought for so many years over and over again, because you never knew why. It goes into manipulation, it goes into how leaders work, it goes into how as well. It speaks about Walt Disney, and then Walt Disney's uncle, who actually had to drive his business because Walt Disney himself didn't have the business tactic. And it's the same with Bill Gates. Bill Gates had everything up here, but he needed, you know, a whole team to get a computer into everyone's home. That was his why, just get a computer into everyone's home. But he needed people to do that. So it goes into that. And Steve Jobs as well, you know, his was innovation and making Apple, you know, that status quo. And that's why people buy Apple. It's because it's a status quo. It's because you show that you are innovative, or you're with the times, and you challenge the status quo. So this book really highlighted a lot of things that I always thought about but never had an answer to. It also made me figure out like what my why is and why am I here, which is really, really deep. But if you're somebody who is looking for that kind of thing, then go ahead and buy this book. I'm just going to read you a little bit. Walmart started small, so did Microsoft, so did Apple, so did General Electric and Ford, and almost every other company that made it big. They didn't start by acquisition or spin-off or achieve mass scale overnight. Nearly every company and organization starts the same way, with an idea. So just keep that in mind. This book is flippin' amazing. Just go and buy it. Okay, we're like at the last book now, but just just hang with me. Okay, this is the best-selling Daring Greatly by my favorite, Brene Brown. She talks about how the courage to be vulnerable transforms the way we live, love, parent, and lead. If you want to live more fully, then just read this book. I'm going to read you the back. It says, every time we're introduced to someone new, try to be creative or start a difficult conversation, we take a risk. We feel uncertain and exposed. We feel vulnerable. Most of us try to fight those feelings. We strive to appear perfect. But in a powerful new vision, Dr. Brene Brown challenges everything we think about vulnerability and dispels the widely accepted myth that it's a weakness. She argues that vulnerability is in fact a strength. And when we shut ourselves off from revealing our true selves, we grow distance from the things that bring purpose and meaning to our lives. Daring Greatly is the culmination of 12 years of groundbreaking social research across the home, relationships, work, and parenting. It is an invitation to be courageous and show up and let ourselves be seen, even when there are no guarantees. This is vulnerability. This is Daring Greatly. Wow, tongue twister. This is the cover. So this is the first book that I read from Brene Brown. Listened to her podcast a number of times. I've listened to many different episodes. She does amazing work, and I love her research around shame and vulnerability. In this book, she really goes deep into and gives the detail of how we are enriched and how we are raised with vulnerability. And then she goes on to show us how being vulnerable can benefit us, and then how shame makes us not be vulnerable and what happens when we're not vulnerable. So it goes into detail about how we're afraid to be vulnerable and why we're afraid to be vulnerable, and how men are also afraid to be vulnerable, as well as women, because you always think that it's women that don't want to be vulnerable because we have to appear strong and we have to appear like we have everything together and we're well put and we're perfect and we have everything down perfectly, and it's just bullshit. But she goes into like how we should practice vulnerability and how that becomes, or how that enables us to dare greatly. So for example, when she first started speaking, she was very nervous and very scared, and she had to be vulnerable on stage and she had to share her stories, and that's open to so much criticism, and she's faced a lot of criticism over the years. And just that act of being vulnerable to tell her story and to speak about her research, which people don't want to acknowledge, like people don't want to always speak about shame, they don't want to go into the depths of why we feel shameful. That vulnerability really like propelled her to the next phase, of her career and of her life. But she has this knack of storytelling and also educating at the same time, that it makes you want to read more. I think this was the quickest read for me because I just like went through it very quickly, because she just speaks so well, she just writes so well, she really relates to the audience. This book is, okay, it's 260 pages or somewhat, but I'm not a fast reader, and I know that something's really great when I can read it, within a few days, which is quick for me. I know it's not quick for other people, but I'm going to read you a little excerpt from here. How men experience shame. When I asked men to define shame or give me an answer, here's what I heard. Shame is failure at work, on the football field, in your marriage, in bed, with money, with your children. It doesn't matter. Shame is failure. Is it not the same thing that we experience as women? So yeah, it was really just an eye-opener in that sense, and it really made me think about things that I haven't thought about before. Also, how you want to go about in your own life, and how you want to open up and express yourself in certain ways, and how you can be vulnerable with people around you so that you build a deeper connection to them and build a community from being vulnerable. And yes, you don't have to be vulnerable with everybody. It's also about knowing boundaries and having boundaries in place, because you can't just walk around sharing your stories like people you just met. No, that's not in any way constructive, and that's not okay as well. So shame and vulnerability is really interesting concepts on its own, and her research has been thorough. It's in the home, it's at school, it's in the workplace, it's throughout, and she shares that in this book. And I just think it's like one of the best books that I've ever read, and I want to buy more of her books. I don't have any others right now, but I definitely am buying more of her books because she unpacks things that no one else is unpacking and no one else is sharing, and it really opens your mind as to why we behave in certain ways. And for me, discovering why we behave in certain ways can help us behave in better ways and help us grow as society, as a community. And yeah, it's just amazing. Also, listen to her podcast. If you're not sure about you like being interested in the subject, listen to her podcast first, and then you'll find out everything about Brene Brown through reading online as well, because yeah, she's just magnificent. If there's any books that you read and enjoyed, please pop it in the comments. I want to buy more books and read more. And if there's anything in particular that you want me to read or review, get my hands on, or you think I will enjoy, let me know as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you'll give me a like, thumbs up, subscribe, share it, and yeah, I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.